Hey guys, so in this video, I'm going to show you FireCrawl, which is a different kind of web scraper where you give it a URL and you can just tell it in plain English what information you want to extract from the page. Now, this is important because with regular web scrapers, what it gives you back is all of the content from the page. And then you have to dig through that whole HTML mess to find the specific information that you're really looking for. So let's say you're spying on your competitor's Facebook ad and you want to analyze their landing pages and product pages at scale. So with FireCrawl, you can literally just say, hey, get me the headline, the pricing, and any guarantees mentioned on this page. And it's going to scan through all of that page content and return exactly those pieces of information in a clean, organized format. Now, that's going to make more sense as we get into this video. And this is the example we're going to use. And I'll talk about this more, of course. But we're going to be doing this all inside of n8n. This is a very simple automation, but it can really extract a lot of insights into your competitor's website. By the way, if you want access to this template and all of my other templates for free, be sure to check out the free school community. The link is below this video. We have over 1,400 people in this community learning how to use AI automations and AI agents. A lot of people are in here for marketing, for ads, for UGC, creative type folks. So again, we've got 1,400 people in here, and you can just come into the classroom, search for the video, and what you'll find is all of the templates below the video. So again, if you want this template for free, just hit the link below the video. So let me just execute this once, and I'm going to show you where the output is going to go. It's going to be this Google Sheet, and we've got one URL in here, and this is the Ridge landing page for their military gear. So I'm going to click on the automation, and FireCrawl is going to scan this URL, and with the prompt that I'm passing through the automation, it's going to automatically be able to extract these very specific pieces of information just on its own. So let me come into n8n. I'm going to execute workflow. This may take, 30 seconds or so. So FireCrawl is going to scrape the page. We're going to wait 10 seconds to make sure that it's finished. Then we're going to go search for the finished result, and we're going to write the results to that Google Sheet. So when I come back into Google Sheets, you can see that FireCrawl, without any extra nodes, any AI steps, was able to pull in exactly what I asked for. So it's got the headline from the page, the subheadline, the CTA, shop the collection. It pulled in some social proof, the discount copy, and the guaranteed copy. And it's pulling that all from that one landing page URL. So in this video, I want to talk a little bit about FireCrawl and why I think this scraper is different than your traditional web scrapers. And then I'll show you how to set up a simple automation like this and the specific use case for marketers and people running Facebook ads, and how I think you can integrate this into your flow when you're spying on your competitors' Facebook ads. All right, let's talk about a specific use case on this. So let's say you are spying on your competitors' Facebook ads. Maybe you're scraping their ads. I put out a tweet about this a little while ago that went crazy viral on X with over 3 million views. And I was showing off a workflow that allows you to scrape your competitors' Facebook ads. And what I think we can do in this video is build on top of that, because in my previous video, what we were pulling out was the transcript of the video ad. We were pulling in the hooks and the angles and the target audience and all that good stuff. But one thing that we were not looking at was the landing pages of those ads. So we grabbed everything in the ad itself, but we didn't look at the actual landing pages, right? Where were our competitors actually sending people from their ads? And so that's what we're going to do in this video. And I'm going to be looking at Ridge wallets here. So here's one of their Facebook ads that they just started running. And so the use case here is we're also going to be able to now analyze the landing pages, okay? So we're going to use this landing page, again, on their wallets. And so if you're a marketer or you're in e-commerce or you're running ads for clients, I think this is something that you can add to your stack that can really help analyze and spy on your competitors. All right, but first, to kind of truly appreciate why I think FireCrawl is so cool, and for the record, this is not a sponsored video, I want to show you what a regular HTTP request scraper looks like, and importantly, the data that it actually outputs for you. So inside of n8n, we're just going to grab an HTTP request node here, and I'm going to put that Ridge URL in here. Now, when I click on execute step, this will scrape the page, right? So it's doing the same job where it's pulling in all of the information. But when we look at the output here, we're going to see how it's actually not that helpful. All right, so if we look at the JSON view, I mean, we can see how absolutely hideous this output is. I think the table should be a little bit better. My computer is literally freezing up right now. So this is the scraped data of this page. So it's basically all of the HTML, all of the code going on behind the scenes to render this page. So again, it is possible in n8n with just a basic HTTP request node to scrape this information. And let me just kind of show you an example. So if I just search for this term here, active duty, if my computer does not freeze up, let me try to search here. All right, so active duty, right? So just to show you that it actually is pulling in the text and the content of the page, but it's also pulling in all of the CSS, all of the HTML. So there's not really a lot that we can do with just this, right? If we wanted to pull out the information that we got, like the headline and the CTA in the social proof, it would require several additional nodes. We have to clean up the data. We'd probably have to send it to an AI step and then output it there. And even then, it might not be able to get it. So I just want to show you what a normal HTTP scraper looks like inside of n8n. All right, so with FireCrawl, they actually have a couple of different tools that I'm not going to talk about, but I'm on the homepage right here. And what I'm going to do is go to dashboard. And the one that I want to play around with is this extract, okay? And it's kind of a newer tool here. So you're going to click into extract. And the first thing that I can do is kind of show this off in the playground. So let me click on try in extract playground. What you can do here is provide a website URL with a prompt, and it's easier to just show you. And again, you can talk to this scraper in plain English, right? In natural language. You can see the example in here. It's saying from all the pages within FireCrawl.dev, I want to extract the company name, the mission, and whether it's open source. So you can talk to your web scraper. So in our example, I've got this on my clipboard. What I'm saying is from this URL, and I'm providing the URL, can you extract the headline, subheadline, CTA, social proof, discount copy, and guarantee copy? And the only reason I have it formatted or typecased like that is because I literally just pasted it in from my Google Sheet. You don't have to format it like that. So here's our prompt. And what you want to do next is click on generate parameters. And I'm going to show you how to set this up inside of n8n in just a second. I just want to show you how it works in the playground to show you what's really going on here. And now you can see the results. So it's going to give us the schema here. By the way, you can edit all of this. So it's got the hero headline, the subheadline, the CTA, the social proof, the discount copy. It's got the prompt over here as well. So it's kind of previewing the search before you run it. But again, you can change this if you want. You can change the prompt, and you can see my URL is saved up here. Now, if you want to kind of preview the results and what it's going to look like, you can just click on run, and it's going to take a second, and it's just going to output the results down here. And you can see it took about 5 seconds, and it's giving us all of our information nicely formatted here. So we got the text, the social proof, the subheadline, the discount copy, the hero headline, and the guaranteed copy. So if you're just trying to play around with it in the playground, then you can do it over here. You can enter multiple URLs. You can tweak your prompt, and again, you can tweak the schema over here. Now we're actually going to come back to this page a little bit later on, but now I want to show you the nodes inside of n8n. So you can figure out the trigger if you want to do this on a schedule, if you want to do it manually. But what I'm doing in this example here, and again, the idea here is that if you're scraping Facebook ads from your competitors, this part of the process, we want to get the landing page URLs to scrape. So I have a Google Sheet here, and the only input that I am providing is the landing page URL itself, and my other columns here match all of the fields that I'm trying to extract. So inside of n8n, I've got a Google Sheet node, a read sheet, and I've simply hooked it up to my Google account. I've picked the spreadsheet, and when I execute step, you can see all of the data coming in here. Now, one thing that I forgot to mention is I do have an ID column. It's the first column. We're going to need that later on. So I would add an ID column and just number it all the way down. And you can see that ID is outputting here, but my Google Sheet is outputting all of my columns. All right, what we're going to need to do next is use an HTTP request to access the FireCrawl API. And for this one, I'll actually do it from scratch just to show you. So let me do add node HTTP request. And actually, let me hook it up here so I don't get an error. And I'm just going to show you how to configure this with FireCrawl. So before we even open this up, what you want to do, and it's kind of good to get in the habit of looking at the API docs. So you can see I'm in the FireCrawl API docs, and under agentic features, I am under extract. So this is where you want to be to look at the docs. Now, what you want to do is come down to this example usage, and it has this nice curl example that we can import directly into n8n. So what you want to do is just copy this curl command right here, come back into n8n. All right, so let me open up the new HTTP request. And what you can do is just click on import curl, paste it in, hit import. And now a lot of this is going to be filled out for you already. All right, so we have our URL. Now, for authentication, you really have two options here. You can see it's filling in the header auth for us right now. So we've got send headers is on. The name is pre-filled with authorization. The value is pre-filled with bearer. And all you need to do after this is enter your API key. And you can grab your API key in your dashboard. I'm not going to reveal mine on the video, but you can just grab it inside of your account, come back into here, delete this, and then paste it in. So that's one way that you can authenticate. Now, the easier way to do it, and especially if you're going to use FireCrawl going forward, is you can actually turn off this send headers, and you can authenticate up here. So you can see in the authentication dropdown, what you want to click on here is generic credential type, and then for auth type, click on header. Now, I already have mine saved, and I'm going to show you how to do this. So you can save this auth every time for FireCrawl, so you don't have to go through this process every time. You can see mine is there, but if you don't have it yet, you just want to click on create new credential. And again, where to get these fields. If you go back to the FireCrawl docs, you can see for this header auth, right? So we have header there, and then authorization is what you're going to copy into the name field. And then for the value, you're going to copy, I'll copy the whole thing here. And for the value field, and you can click and do expression to make sure you can actually see it. So you can see we have the bearer and then again, your API key. So what you're going to want to do is delete this your API key. And then whatever your API key is, again, this will be in your FireCrawl account. You just paste it in there. You would rename this to FireCrawl and then click on save. Now, when you do that, what's going to happen, I'm going to close out of here, but what's going to happen is under this header auth dropdown, you will now be able to select FireCrawl. So you don't need this send headers, but either way it works, whether you want to save your credential up here or you want to send the headers every single time. All right, what we need to change, however, is this body and this JSON down here. So let me actually click this open inside of the expression and expand the field here. So this is the dummy data that FireCrawl is going to import for us, but we need to change basically almost everything in here. So the first thing that we're going to want to change are the URLs that we're scraping. So you can see right now that there's 3 URLs in here. In our example, we're going to pull in a variable. So what I want to do is delete these 3 and just leave that first quote over here and the last quote over here. And now you can see I have my 2 quotes, and what I drag in is my variable. So mine is called landing page URL, and you should see it populate on the right-hand side. All right, so that's step number 1. Step number 2 is we want to change the prompt, right? So if we go back to our playground, you can see it saved our prompt, or it really generated our prompt over here. So I'm going to copy this, come back into n8n, and then again, remove the prompt, everything that's tucked inside these quotes and paste mine in. All right, so now I've changed the prompt as well. And now what we need to change is this schema right over here. So basically everything that is under this schema part. So again, go back to the playground and you can see it starts here with this type object. So if we just copy all of this here and come back to our HTTP request node, and again, what I want to grab is that first bracket all the way down, because if you look in the playground, you can see we have the first bracket here. And this formatting might not work. Let me paste this in. Sometimes the JSON will mess up if the formatting is a little bit off. So let's try testing this out. All right, so it's complaining about invalid JSON. I think it's because of the way that when I pasted from FireCrawl, n8n doesn't like the formatting. So what you can do is literally just copy this, go into ChatGPT and just say, please fix this JSON for n8n. So ChatGPT is going to give us a fixed version here. So let's just go back into n8n and paste that in, and let's try running this again. All right, so that did work. So it was just the formatting. So you should get a message that says true and an ID number here. All right, so next step, what's going on in the background is FireCrawl is going to go out and scrape that page for us. Now, it's going to take 5 to maybe 25 seconds, depending on how many pages you're scraping as well. So you do want to add for your next node a wait node. Now, mine here is only set for 10 seconds because we're literally scraping just a single page. But keep in mind, how many pages you're scraping. So you want to add a wait node next. And then what you want to do after that is add another HTTP request node. So let me open this up and actually let me execute these previous steps so that we can see the data come in. All right, so I executed the previous node so we could see some data come into this second HTTP request node. So again, I added another HTTP request node. And what this is going to do is check the status of this previous one here, right? So we have an ID here. So what we need to do, and let me just pin this. What we need to do is just check that ID to make sure FireCrawl finished scraping whatever page it's scraping. So this is a new HTTP request node. And for the method, you want get, and then you do need to authenticate here. And this is why saving your FireCrawl auth in the previous step is a good idea, because you can just select generic credential type. For auth type, select header, and you can see for my dropdown, I've got my saved FireCrawl auth here, and we don't need to send any other parameters. Now, however, what we do need to do is send a URL, and this is a little bit tricky because of the wait step from before, and this did trip me up. I had to have ChatGPT fix this for me. So let's talk about the URL, just the blank URL. So let me actually delete what's in here right now. And actually, let's go back to the docs because this does show you how to generate that URL. So again, I'm on the API docs, I'm in extract. And if you go down a little bit here where it says status checking, now you could import this curl command as well, and it's going to have you fill in your auth kind of manually. But what I want to show you really is just this URL. So this is the URL that I'm using, right? It's this api.firecrawl.dev v1 extract with this backslash. And then after that, you can see it's asking for the extract ID. And we're going to grab that, right? So this is the ID from the FireCrawl request. Now, you might be tempted to pull the ID in from the wait node, and it will turn green. The issue that you're going to run into is when we check this and it's not ready, and we'll talk about this in the next step, we're going to send this back to the wait node, but the HTTP node for checking the extraction status, what it wants is the ID coming from the previous node, not the wait node. So again, I asked ChatGPT how to do this. And what you want to do is you want to be able to call back to actually this node. So let me just paste that back in there for you. And so you can see I've got double curly braces, I've got $, parens, and then I'm calling that FireCrawl extract request, close quote, close parens, dot item, dot JSON, dot ID. So make sure you do that. Again, your node may be called different, but if you're following this, I would rename it the same, because this is going to be important in order to actually be able to check the status. So let me execute this. All right, so now you can see that this has finished, right? So a success is true and the status is completed. And you can see it's actually pulling in the data that we asked for. Now, this status is important for the next step because, again, we're going to want to check to make sure the status is actually complete before going forward. So that's the next node. So this is just an if node. Okay, so after your check extraction status, HTTP node, add a new node. This is an if node. And what you're going to want to do here is that for the condition, now let me just delete what's in here. So for this field, I just dragged in the status field from the previous step. And then for string, I set it to is equal to. And then what we want to do is pull in completed. So you can drag that in or type that in. But what this is basically doing is checking to make sure that FireCrawl finished that crawl, right? So that the status is completed. So I execute this step. Now, what we're going to do is with that if node, you're going to have two paths, the true path or the false path. So if it is false, okay, what you want to do is drag this true output back to the wait node. And what that's going to do is it's going to wait for 10 more seconds or however many seconds you set it to. It's going to wait, and then it's going to try to check it again. And if it's still not ready, it's going to wait, and then it's going to try to check it again until it's finally completed. Now, when it is completed, we're going to want to log this to Google Sheets, okay? So that's what this true path is connecting to. So for your true path, you want to connect it to a Google Sheet node. So this is an update sheet. Sorry, this is an update row in sheet node, all right? And so what we're going to do is send it to our spreadsheet over here. So let me actually just delete the info that I have in here. So again, this is a simple Google Sheet with just a handful of columns that you can see. And now in your Google Sheet node, again, the operation is going to be update row. You're going to just want to grab the document title from here. So mine is FireCrawl Facebook ads and it's sheet 1. And now for mapping column mode, we're going to map manually. Column to match on is ID, and that's why we have this ID column over here. And then for values to update, the first thing you want to do is select the ID to match on. And so you can go back to the first Google Sheet node and drag in the ID over here. And now all of these other fields that we want to populate, the headline, the subheadline, the CTA text, and social proof, and all of these other fields in our Google Sheet, we can just grab this from the status check or the previous node, okay? So you can see all of the fields are over here. So you can just drag them in over here one by one. Now, once you do that, we can click on execute step, and there we go. We're going to come back into Google Sheets, and you can see our sheet has populated. So we've got our hero headline, our subheadline, CTA, social proof, discount, and our guarantee copy. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. I do think there are some good use cases here for folks who are kind of doing the competitive Facebook ad angle, which a lot of people seem to be doing. Do me a favor, if you enjoyed this video, subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave a comment. It really does help me out. These videos take me hours to put together, so I really do appreciate it. Thanks, guys.